Online education. My name is Darius Davis. I'm representing the argument of online education is better than traditional education. Online education is better than traditional education because of the different factors that involve online education versus traditional education. I believe that online education is the wave of the future of education. What I'm going to do first is outline some of the facts about online education versus traditional education that actually help online education show that online education is better than traditional education. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the areas of history and areas of education where online education is better, and and talk about some of the advantages of online education. Um, the first thing I'm going to start out with is the history of education. Period. And when I start talking about the history of education, you think about the colonial times in America, where education was very limited and it was based on your geography and your social class. Also, the history of traditional education is based upon the seasons. Basically the farming season where you had to go a certain amount of times and days with the seasons, and it's one of the differences of online versus history education is because the fact that online education is all day. It's whenever you're able to be a part of it. And so one of the areas that I really researched and looked into is the area where online education uh, is a place that you're able to access the internet at any time. Um, you're able to do your work at any time. You're able to, when school is out, you can access your work. Saying this from personal experience, I worked at a school where all of the work was online, and students, even days when it rained, students were able to um, do their work. They were able to make up their work. Even during the summertime, they could take classes versus a traditional school where you're not able to do that. Um, you're able to, if you're working or working parent or anything, kind of like me, you're able to do your online school work at any time, versus your jobs, whether you have two, three jobs, kind of like me, you're able to fit that in. Um, some of the positives of online education is also the financial cost. Um, you save money versus your traditional brick and mortar costs of, transportation to school, from school. The tuition fees are cheaper because the professor doesn't have to physically be in front of you all the time in a classroom where you have to pay lights, water, and gas. Also, another thing that I did in my research is students prefer um, taking classes when they get ready. Nowadays, you also, like say, you have your email, you have your discussion forums, you have your discussion threads. You're able to interact with each other on a daily basis through those means of interaction. Also, for the elementary, middle school areas, there is different forms of email, different engagement for the students, which makes it very accurate. Also, I'm going to talk about the technology of online education over traditional education. Technology areas where you have different games, you have different um, researched products where the brain um, can be diagnosed. You can be tested over and over for as not having to physically test anyone, but you can use your computer technology to test students anytime you're ready. You're able to do that. So this can be a big advantage when you talk about students taking remedial classes or students taking classes over and over. Students get extra practice, extra tutor. That saves on the time of teachers printing copies and making stuff over and over. Also, I would like to talk about the in education the advantages of online over traditional where the students prefer the online over the traditional. And there's several reasons why students prefer online over traditional. Um, some students may have social anxiety. Sometimes social anxiety can play a part in there where they do not want to be a part of the different areas of as far as submitting papers, having to do presentations, things of that matter. They can do that, but they don't have to be around a lot of different students, around a lot of different unfamiliar areas, and that has made that a preferable way. The number one way I think that students prefer online education is because students really have a situation where dictate they can dictate the areas where they want to study and want to learn. They can fit it into their time, and so I think that's a great advantage. Also, another advantage of online education is we have safety issues at the traditional schools. A lot of parents and people worried about the safety issues of traditional schools. Now, online education, you have access to the portals and different things, areas where you can take your tests, you can learn digitally through video or through communication with the teacher, or you don't even have to physically be there. And that helps a lot with the anxiety of people not being able to be there during the testing or whatnot. Also, in my research, I found that many areas of traditional education where you miss students so much and they are not able to be involved because it's only so much time that you can spend, with the teacher, so much time, time constraints within the traditional education, which you don't have those time constraints within online education because you have unlimited amount of time to do the work, unlimited amount of time to rehearse, repeat, retest, and this is one of the advantages over that. And we talk about social equality also within the online over the traditional. You don't have those biases and standards that you might have during the traditional because it is being administered for the most part person to person physical areas. Now, with the online education, you got things sources such as Khan Academy, those different areas where anyone, female, male, any gender of society can tap into and get a hold to and are able to complete that. And so, in conclusion, I would just like to say that over the my research, all of the online advantages over the traditional advantages shows me that online school is better than traditional, and the many factors show where the positivity. You have your arguments for the traditional, where getting to meet face to face with people, the social aspects of it, the clubs, the fraternities, the different things, where they have an opportunity to meet with each other and things of that nature. I think with virtual reality, students will still have those opportunities for as the virtual reality of online education that being implemented within online education. Um, I think that, as far as, online education being a must have in the future is very possible because of especially the financial situation. This will save students anywhere from 40 to 50% of their costs versus a traditional brick and mortar. For buying books, buying all these different things, you can actually access your information and your research online. But this will conclude my presentation on the argument of online education over traditional education. And I really enjoyed the online over traditional education argument. And I believe that online education is better than traditional education. All right, thank you.